Now, there are 122 countries around the world that are pledged to working together to reduce global methane emissions by 30% by 2030. And Australia has not been one of them until today. I'm pleased to announce that the Albanese government has decided to sign the Global Methane Pledge to work together with countries across the world on methane reduction. Now, importantly, if this pledge is met, it will contribute to an avoidance of 0.2 degrees of warming, which is very important as we strive to keep the world as close as possible to 1.5 degrees of warming. Now, methane is 24% of Australia's emissions, and we are the world's 11th biggest emitter of methane. So it's very important that we have a seat at the table and we're part of the solution. Around 29% comes from resources, 47% from agriculture and 10% from waste. What we will do is work closely with these sectors on sensible plans for methane emission reduction. What we'll do is implement our reforms to the safeguard mechanism, which will see all emissions come down from big emitters, including methane. Our country's focus will be on research and development, on investment, on collaboration, on partnership with key sectors. Our approach will not involve new taxes, it will not involve livestock reductions or arbitrary domestic targets. Our approach involves international cooperation and domestic cooperation. Now, I note that of those 122 countries that have signed, several are fellow big agricultural and resource economies. Of course, the United States, which has, in many senses, led the international conversation about signing the pledge. Canada, with a very similar economy to us. Brazil, Argentina, New Zealand and the European Union are all signatories, and it's appropriate that Australia join. I want to thank groups across the country who've joined with us in consultation and engagement in recent months. I want to thank the National Farmers Federation. I want to thank the Cattle Council of Australia, ARPIA and other groups. I welcome the comments of those groups. I welcome the comments of the National Farmers Federation, who've said signing the pledge signals Australia's voluntary commitment to participation in global action on methane emissions. For agriculture, it will reinforce our demonstrated commitment to sustainability and ongoing access to key markets as an export-oriented sector. The Cattle Council has said, the Cattle Council of Australia supports the Commonwealth signing up to the Global Methane Pledge prior to the COP27 International Climate Action Summit, provided there are assurances of no new taxes or requirements to reduce cattle numbers, which of course is the case. So this is an important step for Australia today. As I said, we are going to focus on research and development. I'm also pleased to announce today the next round of funding on methane reduction, $5 million of funding over 11 projects to occur over the next 12 months, including Sea Forest on further work on the Asparagopsis seaweed, the University of Melbourne, the University of New England and many other research institutions. This is important work and we are very happy to be funding that today. I want to make one final point. When there was speculation about the Albanese government signing this pledge, the opposition went into a predictable but very disappointing tailspin of lies. Remember when Scott Morrison said that electric vehicles will end the weekend? Well, these guys haven't learnt their lesson. You know, whether it's Peter Dutton saying it was an attack on cows or David Littleproud saying it would end the barbecue, this is the same old Liberal and National Party. It's as if Scott Morrison was still running the joint, running the fear campaign, running the lies, running the misinformation. Well, they paid a price for that at the last election. If they don't want to learn a lesson, that's a matter for them. But Australia is moving on from their denial and their delay. Australia is moving on from those 10 years of dysfunction. We are back at the international table when it comes to action on climate change. We're back at the domestic action agenda when it comes to action on climate change. And whether it's CO2 or methane, the Albanese government is happy to lead the way while the opposition sits on the sidelines and lies and whinges. Happy to take questions.
Thanks. So can I just get you to clarify what the government will be doing to reach this pledge? I understand that you've mentioned that $5 billion in additional grants, but can you any additional measures that the government might be adopting
Sure.
to reach that target?
Sure, Noah. Well, the first point to make is that this is a global pledge. So this does not require Australia to reduce our own emissions by 30%. It requires us to work to reduce our emissions as much as possible and to contribute to a 30% global reduction and to improve our measurement. All signatories have to ensure that their measurement of methane is up to international best standard. And that's what we'll continue to do. And as I said, Noah, our safeguard emissions reforms are important because a lot of the facilities emit a lot of methane as well as a lot of CO2. And I'll be having more to say about that in coming weeks. Our work with our election commitment on funding of Asparagopsis, the seaweed which reduces methane emissions very substantially from cattle when it's added to their feed, will continue. And of course, this research and development that I've announced today. But these are just some of the steps. I've very much enjoyed my engagement with people like the NFF over recent weeks, as I know the Agricultural Minister Murray Watt has done, and we'll continue to work closely with them on sensible ideas to help and assist farmers on what they are already doing, what they want to do, and likewise in resources and in the waste sector as well. Anything else, Noah?
Maybe can I just get you to, I guess, reflect on the previous government's decision not to sign up to this pledge when, dozens of countries did. Why has it taken Australia so long to get to this point, given it's, not particularly a controversial pledge?
Well, I mean, I completely understood why the previous government wanted to check and make sure and work through the pledge. But having done so in government, can I say this is a very sensible thing for Australia to be signing, a very sensible thing. And it's very clear to me that the previous government was just addicted to denial, to delay. They were addicted to lying about emissions, whether they be methane or CO2. And this was a government that was addicted to not acting. It was a government addicted to lying to the Australian people about the implications of action on climate change. I can only conclude, Noah, that their refusal to sign this pledge was part of that pattern of behaviour.
Thanks, Minister. That's all from me.
Thanks, Noah. Good on you. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks, guys.